Greetings and good morning, everyone. It's Ryan Schaffgotsch here, and we have a very special episode that we're working on in an abandoned palace in the absolute middle of nowhere. Now, I've decided to go ahead and release a little preview of this episode live, just for a kind of special, fun, belated 4th of July present to everyone who's watching in the United States. It's pretty early in the morning over there, so I expect that most of you are probably relaxing. But unfortunately, the weather is not cooperating with us. So we will start the tour of this palace on the inside. This is my friend Greg. Greg, welcome to the show.
Kopice.
And he is a local Polish history expert. Behind the camera is my brother-in-law, Peter, who, well, might or might not be risking his life a little bit by doing this live in the palace. And we're in the middle of nowhere, so there could be some major issues. But the entire story of this palace, let's say symbolically, starts here at the grand entrance. So this was where guests who would come to visit entered, and it looked completely different in the past.
Yeah, it looked like totally different before Second World War, because before communism in Poland. But here was the main entrance for the guests who visited palace in Kopice, visited Joanna Gryzik von Schomberg-Godulla and her husband Hans Ulrich Schaffgotsch. He was the main entrance, and he was the main hall where they waited to be welcomed by the owners.
And I want you guys to really understand that main entrance to a regal building for nobles or even just industry titans of the time was very, very important symbolically. It was a form of peacocking. So guests, when they would arrive, would have an entire production normally be led through a series of reception spaces. Now this one is very, very unique because there's a kind of, how would you describe it, circular auditorium almost.
It's a circular with columns, but when you are standing in the middle of this main hall, you can see not only the main entrance, but also the second part of the palace where eastern terraces place only for recreation, to relax, for the noble guests.
So come on, let's bring our audience in with us here. And this is under construction because they've been trying to rebuild this fantastic palace for the past, well, over 10 years. And recently, before the guests would arrive through the grand entrance, assumingly from horse carriage, the first thing they would see out the back was the garden, which was fantastic. There were actually tennis courts. And if it was a winter garden with exotic plants.
Yes, and orangery.
Yeah.
With exotic plants. Guests had here everything what they needed in 19th and 20th century, places where they could spend a lot of their free time.
Okay. Now, come a little bit closer. You'll notice that there are 2 flights of stairs, and I thought that this was very, very interesting. And hopefully when the weather improves later, we'll be able to show you guys the towers. If not today, there's going to be the feature episode coming up soon, so just watch out for it. But there were 2 flights of stairs because the palace was divided as his and her quarters.
Yes, exactly. Right side was a part of her husband, Hans Ulrich, and on my left side lived Joanna Gryzik. Standard in 19th century, when some part of the palace or house were for husband and for wife. Even topics like economy, politics belong to the men. Women talked about romances or having children, something like that.
Exactly, but here's the very interesting thing in terms of this palace. If you look at it from the exterior, which we'll hopefully show you in a moment, one of the towers was symbolically taller, and that belonged to the wife, because Joanna was the one who had the fortune. She was the one who actually controlled the industries, and she was the richest woman in Europe.
Yes, she was a businesswoman of 19th century. She had a very big industrial business in her her hands. So that's why when we are looking on this palace, the right side there is a smaller tower belong to the husband, and the bigger, higher tower belonged to her. It was her position. He was the main character of this noble family Schaffgotsch.
And the craziest thing about it, for me, is that Joanna did not have an obvious road to actually, was she noble?
No, she
wasn't even noble.
Firstly, she was born in a very poor Silesian family. After some time, she got a very big fortune from industrialist Karol Godulla's. But only Max Schäfer, who was lawyer, Godulla's lawyer, he made from her a noble woman, and the Prussian king gave her coat of arms. So she had fortune, noble. And she wasn't noble.
Yeah, and so just to explain to you guys, everyone watching, very unusual story. Although the castle is very close to here, like Można Castle, which you guys saw the 99 Tower episode. Similar thing, the guy came from nothing, pulled himself up by his bootstraps, and became a noble. Joanna followed a similar trajectory, but her story is even more interesting because the person who built this palace, she was born into poverty. She was in an orphanage. Do we keep her with us? And at a certain point, it turned out that there was no space for Joanna in the house, and she went to live in a nobleman's house, yeah?
She worked in this house as a service, but he didn't know that she is inside the house because he hated children because of that they screamed. So
just to clarify, this guy looked like a goddamn monster. His face was scarred, he was ugly, and children were afraid of him. So he didn't want children around him, assumingly, because he didn't want to be reminded of his ugliness. But she was deeded his entire empire under the condition that she would have children. This put Joanna in danger. And it's funny because you see these great palaces and castles, you don't realize the fortune would be given to her sister, is that right?
Yes, exactly.
And so her sister's people actually arranged to try and have Joanna killed. Joanna was taken into effect, came to fortune. And the amazing thing, and it's a contrast that you really appreciate when we go outside and you see the scale of this place, was that by the end of her life, she managed to grow that. So, and we have hard hats on because this is a dangerous construction site.
Still under reconstruction, so that's why helmets are necessary.
So have a look at this. This is a render of how the reception.
Yes, exactly, but mostly they stand on the stairs. But yes, firstly she saw who came to the place. After that, she welcomed visitors.
I just checked the comments. Some people were complaining that the live stream is breaking up. We are in the middle of nowhere. This is kind of a test run. We're learning how to do this. So this will not be public later. If you see it, enjoy it. Beautiful photo of the house. So, okay, guys, if you're watching this, take a look, okay? Remember this, because now we're about to step outside. I think that the rain has stopped enough, and you're going to see what this palace looks like today. So, Piotrek, lead us outside. If you guys have any questions in the chat, feel free to say hello. I'll check it from time to time. Good morning, White ARV. Donald is here. Okay. Now this is something spectacular. Remember that image that we just had a look at? Well, this is on this place when I was driving through the area, and I saw that tower from like probably 5 miles away, and I knew something crazy was waiting. Why is this in such a dire condition? Well, basically, when the Second World War happened, the Russians were approaching this area. Some pretty grave trouble, so they left. The Russians, surprisingly to their credit, did not plunder or destroy this palace, which is pretty unusual because a lot of the palaces in the area, this land became Poland. No one really knew what the future would hold because Germany didn't recognize the newly gained Polish land until like the 1960s. So no one was trying to invest in old palaces. They had other priorities in rebuilding. So over time, they transformed this into a... So over time they transformed...
Peasants or workers, it was some kind of the, as you said, hotel for them when they spent here 1 week or two weeks. So it's here, it's cultural and... So that's why they didn't, firstly, they didn't destroy it.
So it was a sanatorium, basically. During communism, the working people, as they were called by the communist sometimes they would come to places like this. Apparently there was an active kitchen. It was comfortable. However, things went wrong when
business, and when they heard about control, they put fire in 1956, and in 24 hours all interiors.
There was an illegal business here. The business was facing inspection. And unfortunately, instead of just removing the illegal activities, they burnt the goods, they burnt the whole thing down. And rumor has it that there was actually a series of 3 fires which took the rooftop away. And you can see that it was since plundered. There's missing statue elements. And just seeing here if anyone has left any. Wow. I mean, when you look at
Parts husband, it was very important to show to the guests a history of his noble family Schaffgotsch, because their history began in 13th century in Czepice near Jelenia Góra. And all sculptures, all things on the facade should be an open book for people, for guests, and they read the history of Schaffgotsch in 13th century. Probably they bought this person. It was very big. In the 13th century, he shows his surname only on one document, and on the right side, 17th century here in a palace, because normally they had a small room as a chapel. But in that time she dreamt about, you can see a lot of details which weren't destroyed by people, so the chapel is really in a very good...
When it's finished. Now this over here beyond the property's fence was a tea house. And apparently this was in good condition until how many?
It was destroyed 20 years ago, yeah.
Until 20 years ago.
Something like that.
So I mean, we could have had a nice tea house, but now you just have I don't even know how to describe that. We're getting closer to the recreation grounds. So these palaces often had galleries, which were meant to display. But also the castles and palaces would have exotic greenhouses. I can't pronounce it. Aranjatia, how do you say?
Orangeria.
Orangeria. I don't.
Very important part of the palaces.
Definitely. And these people would take plants from other countries and exotic places in the world. Must have been nice.
Yes, and here worked Wilhelm Hampel, who was the best. We know that Queen Victoria really wanted to have him in Great Britain. art work. So he was very famous in the 19th century, but because of him, here grown cucumbers or ananases, which were sent for.
Look at that. It's hard to believe. You know, this is kind of proof that destruction is easier than so many missing elements, but it gives it a extra special charm.
Yes, here was the Joanna's sleeping room. We know because mining hammers, as I can say. So that's why every different noble family knew that she was very, very poor. Silesia. So everybody who saw this coat of arms knew that she is not a noble by blood. She got coat of arms from the King of Prussia.
Okay. So double standards.
Yes,
I suppose.
because in Prussia in that time you could had coat of arms from your.
So we're at the backside of the palace now. This is the exit to that reception area. Sorry, I'm laughing. Well, we want to do live, we get live. Anyways, this was the exit to that reception area. So imagine how spectacular it must have been when you arrived here from the city. Games that you could play.
Yes, tennis court, because tennis was a sport which played aristocracy. So.
Yeah. All right, so now I'm gonna go back inside. Might get a little bit choppy. I wish I had a second camera to put on the cameraman because he has bugs flying to his mouth. So listen, also I'm gonna check the comments from time to time. There's 20 of you watching right now. Very exclusive live stream. If you have any questions, let us know, and it might make it into the final episode as well. And the fire, the mix of fire destruction and time and weather and elements, it's done a number on this place.
Yes, weather conditions. 1 year ago, it was last chance for the palace to survive. So that's why the actual owner bought.
For the past 20 years, people have been fighting, companies have been fighting. I watched many interviews with people from this area fighting for this to reemerge. As hotels, conference centers, and so you know, I'm a half full kind of cup guy, so I'm optimistic.
Firstly, 90s of 20th century, it was there were a lot of businessmen who bought palaces, castles. They didn't do nothing with them, took money and disappeared in very mysterious part of the floor. Villeray-en-Boch, it was the famous factory in nowadays Germany. It was established in 18th century. Their products were very expensive, but Joanna and her husband had money to buy their Villeray-en-Boch. Why we know that a lot of rooms had their products? Because there is a stamp.
Inscripted.
Yeah.
But it's quality. You don't have material like that today.
Yeah, so that's why there is a rest of the floor at the entrance to this room. This
upstairs before the weather changes again.
Yes,
because I think it's going to change. Yeah, and you can actually see some of the original floor here as well. Oh, beautiful.
Yes, they had a lot of money, so that's why every detail is very expensive, and they spent a lot of ways.
All right, let's head up to the top. Obviously, been installed. There's also an enclosed roof, which is amazing. So the water damage is kind of going to be minimized. Wow, but look at
there were here a lot of parties, and also they ate meals here in this hall.
And what once was. And you know, this stuff has disappeared over the years for a variety of reasons, from fires to plundering. And we can go upstairs.
Maybe a night hall also?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because night hall it's one of the beautiful places here inside in the palace. Here we have fireplace and 4 center arc, which is very similar to the. And from this hall, you could go downstairs to the orangery and to the winter garden.
Revolved around hosting guests, parties, events.
Yes, there were a lot of events, parties. They had a lot of money to celebrate all important dates in here in Kopice. Also, the Hussars army from Brzeg came here, and they could meet women, future wives.
Excellent.
Yes, it was one of the functions. It was normal in 19th century that they met during parties. After that, they arranged. It is only detail, not somebody from the family or the history.
Okay. Upstairs is this way.
This way.
We can go slowly because Piotr might be having a hard time. So you'll also notice many openings where fireplaces once were. And I'm also curious, were there secret stairwells for servants?
Yes, exactly. Maybe I should show you the lift from the kitchen.
I was wondering what this is.
Lift, so all meals which were prepared in the clean kitchen went up to the banquet hall.
Okay. All the way down.
Yeah, and if you needed to clean food before preparing, you clean it in a cellar in a dirty kitchen. After that, this food went to the clean kitchen and at the end to the banquet hall.
Okay. So it came up here, guests were served. Getting hungry. It looks like something from a movie, you know? The wealth, the embodiment of it can be squandered like this and lost. But I guess that's kind of the only outcome with time. And Joanne,
but she had all industry in Upper Silesia in her hands.
So, guys, the region where we're right now, it's called Silesia. I mentioned it a few times in videos. It's a mining region. So, this is kind of where the powers of Europe were exploiting energy in the 19th century in particular. And so it was a coveted area, but it's also the reason that you see all these palaces. So shall we see the?
Yes, but what is to develop this region in 18th century? So that's why he is a very important person for this palace, because without his fortune there will be no Joanna and no palace.
From the inside. That's very interesting. Was this stained glass?
Glass, yes. It was stained glass, very colorful probably. But nowadays I don't know that we have even photos from that that time.
Well, the park must have just...
Bridges, so every guest found something for him.
They built their own world here, you know, a bubble of luxury, recreation, and influence.
Yeah, because normally they lived in Wrocław, but Wrocław was a very noisy city, so that's why they searched for another place, very peaceful plant thalers. So this was a very big prize in 19th century.
Let's see if this is still...
Maybe left.
we actually have someone watching right now who knows this place. So that's BBZYQ. They decided to do something a little bit different today. This is a live stream that is going to reappear, well, elements of it in a feature video. So once we finish here, it won't be public anymore. I hope that you guys are enjoying it at the moment, I think.
Yes, it's under construction. There will be a roof, but it's a very expensive thing here in a palace. So that's why it's everything prepared. Maybe in this year we'll handle it.
From this perspective, you can really appreciate the different scale of the his and her. Of course, in the workplace, they'd wear shoulder pads to be bigger. Forget about the shoulder pads. That's the husband's tower, okay? Now, let's have a look at the wife's tower. So, the point is, when this palace was in its prime, women could not vote. But in some, they had a lot of influence, and that was symbolized in making something so much larger. But his is pretty nice as well.
One day before marriage, they signed an agreement in which she...
Really?
So there's a point in this agreement. So it's non-standard for unstandard from 19th century. Normally, women are one step behind their husbands.
Yeah.
Something like that. Here she decided about everything in this palace. She had influence on the business and her husband, because she was normally he signed, but she made a decision. He signed, and they earned money. So that's why this tower is bigger, because she was a main character here. Married 52 years, so it's very long time, and they truly loved themselves. So, so it's unstandard in 19th century. It wasn't political marriage. It wasn't economic marriage. It was truly love marriage.
Nice. Well, I think out this garden.
Maybe from that side there will be a better view.
Yeah. But this is all that remains of a great noble fortune. And although it was very, very close to being completely lost, considering how many statues and relics are missing, you might even say it heavy. Keeping my fingers crossed that it will be successful. Greg, thank you so much for joining me on the show today. And thank you all very much for watching. I really hope that you liked the episode.